This broadcast is being transmitted live across 612 inhabited systems. Let all species bear witness. The camera feed flickered, then stabilized. Ambassador Rail stood defiantly at the council chamber's center, face bruised, suit torn, lips bloodied, but unshaken. "Earth does not kneel," he said, spitting the words like venom. A massive praetor loomed behind him. "We do not beg. We do not plead. And we never ever forget." The execution rod flared to life, blinding, final. Then black screen. One moment of silence. Then a human voice over emergency broadcast. "This is Commander Dax Morrow. Protocol Theta 9 is now active. You killed our diplomat. Now we kill your galaxy?" The screen went black. It had been broadcasting to over 600 star systems when the rod struck Ambassador Rail's chest. The blast had left nothing but a charred silhouette behind, collapsing into itself like a dying star. There was no signal delay. No filter. Just a live, brutal execution of Earth's highest diplomat in the heart of the Galactic Council. Silence followed. Not just in the viewing chambers on Earth, but across Mars, Titan, and every Terran-linked colony. Civilians stared at frozen screens. Soldiers paused mid-routine. Somewhere on Europa, a child cried because the television stopped working. At 9:13 Universal Time Coordinated, the United Terran Republic's emergency broadcast interrupted every feed. Static gave way to a stark interior. Black walls, blue glow, a single figure seated at a high-back command chair. He didn't speak right away. The camera focused on his eyes, cold, still, waiting. Then, Commander Dax Morrow leaned forward. "You killed our envoy." He didn't shout. He didn't fume. He simply stated it like reading coordinates. "Effective immediately, Earth activates Protocol Theta 9. We are now at war with the Galactic Council." He stood. Steel gauntlets locked over his forearms. The black uniform he wore bore no insignia, just a single silver stripe across the collar. The screen cut to darkness again, but the message lingered. Across every corner of human space, ships began to move. Deep bunkers opened. Long dormant war factories thundered to life. At the Farpoint command cradle, Dax walked alone down a corridor of shifting glass and alloy. 8 officers stepped aside. No salutes. No eye contact. They knew what was coming. The walls hummed with activation sequences, drones launching, AIs syncing, orbital cannons powering up. Earth's war engine had slept for 50 years. Now it was awake. Admiral Riker's voice buzzed in his earpiece. "Commander. Do we have confirmation? Council defenses are still." "They executed Rail," Dax cut in. "There's no defense for that." Riker paused. "They're claiming rogue tribunal action. A rogue judge. No formal war declaration from their central." "We don't need a declaration," Dax replied, entering the black chamber at the end of the hall. The war table unfolded, projections lighting up. "We have a corpse. That's all the cause we need." The Admiral fell quiet. Dax didn't wait for approval. His hands moved across the display, issuing mobilization orders. The 7th Expeditionary Armada was to leave in 2 hours. They would not target cities. Not yet. First blood would fall on the relay moon, Council's central comm grid. It would go dark before sunrise on Earth. A technician stepped forward. "Sir, final authorization needed." Dax pressed his thumb into the scanner. "Confirmed. Deploy." Across the solar system, sleeper fleets ignited. Over Venus, stealth carriers blinked into FTL. On Mars, drone hangars hissed open and rained fire into the upper atmosphere as they rose in silent formation. The Terran Navy was not ornamental. It had been built for the day peace failed, and peace had just been buried with Rail. Back in the war chamber, Dax reviewed Council schematics, eyes narrowing at the architecture of the relay moon. It wasn't a military target, technically. It was supposed to serve all races, open-source galactic infrastructure. But it also routed 92% of Council interstellar communications. Strategically? It was a throat. and Dax intended to crush it. He opened a secure comm to Colonel Issa, commanding the vanguard. You're to strike Relay Alpha's emitters only. No power cores. No life support. Keep civ casualties at 0. Her voice was sharp. Understood. But they won't understand mercy. They will when everything they say turns into static. He ended the call. Then, for a brief moment, he looked at the quiet ring on his finger. A simple thing. Titanium. Scuffed. He turned it once. Then let it go. No time for reflection. Not now. His personal AI core spoke through the embedded cranial link. Council broadcast resumed, Commander. Dax sat. Velzor appeared on screen, long, serpentine, glimmering in ceremonial gold. The Primarch's voice was measured, every syllable dragging like syrup over gravel. To the peoples of the galaxy, he began. The unfortunate demise of the human ambassador was the result of unforeseen tribunal error. Earth's retaliation is disproportionate, unlawful, and deeply regrettable. Dax killed the feed. He didn't need to hear alien lectures from a corpse in waiting. On the bridge of the dreadnought Dawnbringer, he stood behind reinforced glass as the stars stretched into lines. Warp initialized. The fleet moved like a stormfront, silent, vast, deliberate. 2 hours to target, his pilot reported. Good, Dax said. Prepare the message. The pilot blinked. Which message, sir? Dax turned his head, tone flat. The one we send after we've broken their spine. He left the bridge, boots echoing down the passageway. Somewhere behind him, Earth's future was now riding on flame. The relay moon fractured like glass beneath precision fire. From orbit it looked surgical, bright flashes snipping through the darkness, carving the calm satellites from their orbits one by one. No ground forces deployed. No bombardment of life systems. Just the death of signal. Silence, absolute and instant. On the bridge of Dawnbringer, Commander Dax Morrow stood still, hands clasped behind his back, watching. His jaw never moved. His officers said nothing. They knew the mission had succeeded when the last flicker on the NAV grid vanished. All Council comms down across 6 systems, his comms chief said. They're isolated. Blind. Good, Dax said. Now we talk. The broadcast was sent through Earth's own encrypted relay, bypassing the wreckage below. The message took 7 minutes to reach Sealer Prime. Another 2 before every terminal, projector, and transmission node across Council space played a single feed. Dax eyes hard. Voice steady. The same man who'd activated Protocol Theta 9. You made a choice. So did we. No threats. No demands. Just that. Then static. In the Council spire, Velzor stood before the ruling chamber, coils wrapped tightly, posture still. His golden robes shimmered under the dome lights, but his voice cracked, barely noticeable. This is an outrage. An unlawful assault on public infrastructure. We offered apology. We acknowledged error. He looked around. The chamber was silent. The representatives from the Alari, the Mactan, even the Kravash, all watching, none speaking. Not out of respect. Out of fear. They crippled us, hissed High Envoy Shrev from the insected delegation. Without a single drop of blood. You said humans were primitive. Predictable. And now half the outer rim is black. Velzor lifted a claw. Contain your panic. Contain your lies. Shrev spat, rising. They're not retaliating. They're planning. This wasn't emotional. This was warfare. Cold, exact, prepared. Behind closed doors, the Primarch summoned his military advisors. Their input was uniform. Humanity had anticipated the political fallout. They had predicted the Council's response. No hasty retribution. No disproportionate collateral. Only precision. Velzor turned to the glowing star map. They're sending a message. No, corrected strategist Feldiar. They already did. Across Council-controlled systems, chaos brewed. Lesser species, long subjugated by bureaucracy and exploitation, had watched the broadcast. Not the execution. The response. Some cheered. Others packed ships. A few began stockpiling weapons. In the darkness of a secondary comm room aboard Dawnbringer, Dax watched intercepted council discussions. Core, his AI, had filtered and translated over 900 feeds. Reaction? Dax asked. 38 member systems in chaos. Core replied. 7 open protests. 2 embassies stormed. 1 fleet mutiny underway. Dax nodded, eyes scanning planetary charts. Send Phase 2. 10 minutes later, the second payload launched, not missiles, not drones. Truth. Every suppressed document. Every classified file. War crimes hidden by the Council during the Drenic revolts. Secret sterilization orders from the Alari campaigns. Executions of surrendered populations. Bribes. Broken treaties. Over a century of rot. Released in every known language. No disclaimers. No edits. Raw history. Velzor watched the first report go viral in less than a minute. Public outrage erupted. Council stations across 3 sectors went dark, sabotage from within. Human deceit, he muttered. No one responded. Meanwhile, Dax walked through the hangar of his flagship, passing rows of war mechs and armored drones. The technician saluted. He didn't return it. He paused by a unit being loaded with subauditory dispersal weapons. You sure these work? He asked. The engineer nodded. Disables comms, AI networks, and visual telemetry. Clean. No fire. Dax studied the drone's camera lens. That's the point. He moved on, mind already drifting back to when this began. It hadn't started with Rail's execution. Not really. Months before, Dax had authorized a covert cyber-seeding operation, Operation Judas Key. False intel was planted in Council archives. The kind of information designed to provoke. Incriminating evidence of Terran violations. All fake. All believable. He'd known exactly what the Council would do. And he needed them to do it. Earth couldn't start the war. But it could finish one. Especially if the enemy fired first. Core's voice returned. Sealer Prime has entered emergency status. Martial law declared. Premarch has issued a sector-wide call for conscription. Perfect, Dax said. Do we respond? No. He paused, then corrected himself. Yes. Send them the reply Velzor deserves. And what is that? Dax looked out at the stars. Let them prepare. Let them dig in. Then take the shovel from their hands and bury them with it. The order went out. Within the hour, Earth's second wave mobilized, not ships, not strikes, but influence. Targeted leaks. Propaganda tailored for each species. The message was simple. The Council lied to you. One broadcast showed a Mactan colony bombed after voting against a tax increase. Another exposed slavery rings among the elite. Each revelation was timed, targeted, devastating. The fractures weren't forming, they were splitting wide open. In the lower decks, Colonel Issa strode beside Dax as they reviewed mutiny reports. We're not just fighting, she said. We're converting. Not by choice, Dax replied. By truth. And if truth fails? He stopped. Then we go back to what works. Steel. She nodded once. Fleet reports ready. All systems green. Dax faced her. Next stop is Sealer Prime. And after that? He looked her dead in the eye. History. The Mactan Republic surrendered without a single shot fired. Their ambassador appeared over a secure frequency, trembling under the glow of their ceremonial crystal throne. We are not loyal to the Council, he said. We were never loyal. Only afraid. Dax didn't even sit for the transmission. Then you'll surrender all comm archives, ship schematics, and access keys. Full cooperation. Zero delay. The Mactan envoy nodded so fast the feed pixelated. It's already being uploaded. He cut the signal. The room fell into silence except for the quiet hum of the star map realigning. Colonel Issa leaned in. That's the third system to fold. They're not folding, Dax said. They're peeling away. The cracks in the Council were now visible from orbit. Riots ignited on the trade moons of Slarvos. Council enforcement units turned their guns inward. Old banners were burned. New ones hadn't even been designed yet. Fear had become something else, recognition. Earth wasn't the villain. Earth was the hammer, and every citizen under Council rule was a nail already pounded down for generations. Dax wasn't offering salvation. He was offering consequence. In the tactical war room, holofeeds flickered between uprisings and military defections. Council fleet movements grew erratic. Half their formations failed to regroup. The chain of command had snapped under its own bloated weight. We're past collapse, said Commander Railson. It's unraveling. No, Dax said, eyes locked on the center system, Sealer Prime. They're trying to stall. We haven't struck the head yet. The defector data revealed something else. Sealer's vaults weren't just housing records. They stored dormant war fleets, silenced since the founding charter. Entire battalions, cryo-shelved, forbidden by treaty. Velzor had started waking them up. And that meant time was running out. Dax sent a single command, initiate Whisper Fleet Protocol. 5 cloaked destroyers peeled away from the main armada and vanished into deep space. No trails. No signals. Each one headed for a Council world not yet burning. They didn't attack. They erased. Blackouts. Power failures. Systems collapsed in silence. No fire. No screams. No warning. When questioned, no one had answers. Just blank skies and dead networks. One of the Council generals screamed into a private channel. We're under ghost attack. Back aboard Dawnbringer, Dax stood before the observation window as hyperspace stretched into ribbons. They were closing in on Sealer. He didn't blink. Kor chimed in. Velzor has declared a full martial lockdown, broadcasting to all remaining loyal systems. His words, we are the flame. Earth is the rot. Dax smiled. He's giving sermons. That means he's scared. He also authorized conscription of civilians. Children over the age of 12. Dax didn't flinch. So much for galactic ethics. Issa stepped beside him. What's the play? Strike now? Or wait for the rest to eat themselves? Neither. Dax tapped the glass. Let him build his wall. Then we walk through it. The Terran fleet continued to swell as ex-Council ships arrived in surrender formations. The flags were torn down, data wiped, but the hulls remained usable. One of the Kravash captains transmitted in low, guttural tones. We serve now. Because you didn't lie. Dax gave the reply personally. Serve, don't worship. We're not your gods. Just the only ones willing to tell the truth with a weapon in hand. Internal messages circulated among Earth's officers. Some were starting to question if this was still war, or something darker. Dax had those logs deleted. Not censored, erased. Doubt was a privilege for peacetime. He stepped into the deep core war chamber and activated a locked protocol, Chimera Directive. The ship's AI balked at first. Unauthorized. Unverified. But the override code was Dax's own biometrics. The protocol released the final contingency, synthetic viral packages, digital, non-lethal, programmed to flood every Council-controlled AI with false sensory inputs. If deployed, their own targeting systems would see ghosts, allies as enemies, fire at static, lock onto stars. When used, it would turn their defense grid into suicide. He didn't tell anyone, not even Issa. Not yet. Back in Sealer space, Velzor addressed the Council through a private emergency channel. The chamber was emptier than ever. Delegates absent, signals lost, sectors silent. Still, he hissed with grandeur. This ends with Earth's ashes. Not compromise. Not peace. Their ambition will be their execution. But even as he spoke, the lights dimmed. The power grid hiccuped. Far above his dome, In high orbit, 5 stealth-capable Terran drones completed their loop around Sealer's equator. They didn't fire. They just mapped. Every tower. Every shield relay. Every underground defense silo. Back on Dawnbringer, Issa entered Dax's private quarters. Council comms are down again. 7 more governors defected. Dax didn't look up. He was watching the simulation of Sealer Prime rotate slowly. Do you know what they used to call Earth? He asked. She shook her head. The rogue moon. Said we were too unstable. Said we didn't fit the galactic curve. Too dangerous to orbit their politics. He exhaled through his nose. They were right. But now that orbit's closing. He tapped the final command. Fleet convergence initiated. He looked Issa dead in the eyes. Next time we speak, he said, it'll be from their sky. Sealer Prime didn't fall from the sky. It was dragged down, piece by piece. Humanity's armada came not as a spear but as a net, woven, coordinated, silent until the first point of contact. Then it exploded. The outer orbital ring, once lined with ceremonial patrol cruisers and showpiece defense stations, was cut apart within minutes. Earth's AI-guided warships didn't fire in bursts. They sang. Lasers hummed through vacuum in clean, rhythmic intervals, disabling enemy systems without excess. There was no bloodlust, only precision. Commander Dax Mora watched from the Dawnbringer's command deck as the third orbital platform ruptured, venting its crew into the void. No cheering. No celebration. Just confirmation. Final shield array down, came Kor's voice. Dax raised one finger. Begin descent. Deploy ground teams. Dozens of dropships ejected from Terran vessels, gliding through the upper stratosphere. On the surface, Sealer Prime's last active shield dome flickered then failed. Within moments, Terran boots touched ground. Colonel Issa's voice filtered in. Touchdown confirmed. Resistance light scattered. Orders? Occupy. Don't provoke. If they fire first, they don't fire again. The Council Guard did fire. Some from desperation, others from fear, a few from loyalty. None lasted more than 90 seconds. Mech units marched through civic plazas while drones hovered low, scanning rooftops. AI enforcers rerouted transit grids, shutting down escape routes. No looting. No destruction. Every Terran soldier had been drilled to one directive: collapse the structure, not the people. Still, pockets of resistance held. One tower, the Callous Spire, tried to activate a localized EMP to disable human units. Dax watched it blink to life, just before one of his whisper drones penetrated the central power coil. The building crumbled inward with a muted detonation. Back on the ground, Issa stepped over council banners that had been stripped from the walls. This city was built to rule stars, she muttered. Dax's voice came sharp over comms. Now it kneels under them. He descended hours later, after the dust had settled. His arrival wasn't marked by a parade of guards, only silence. The people of Sealer didn't line the streets. They remained behind sealed doors and dark windows, waiting. Not screaming. Not begging. Just watching. At the base of the council spire, Dax stepped from his carrier alone, flanked by 2 unarmed envoys. Behind him, mech escorts held their line without moving. The main gates opened with a groan. Velzor stood waiting inside. He hadn't fled. Hadn't called for reinforcements. He stood tall in his ceremonial robe, staff in one hand, voice ready for war. You've broken laws older than your species, he said. Dax stopped 5 paces away. You executed a diplomat on live feed. A tribunal. Your tribunal. Your weapon. Your stage. Dax's tone remained flat. Velzor bared his fangs. And still you come here with fire, pretending to uphold your morality. No, Dax said. I come with memory. You called us unstable. Too violent. Too human. Now you get to meet the full meaning of that word. He stepped forward, voice lower now. You thought we'd respond with fear. But fear's not our language. Consequences. Velzor raised his staff. You're a child with a match, playing God. Dax drew his sidearm and fired once. The staff shattered in Velzor's grip. Not his skull. Not his chest. The weapon. Velzor didn't flinch. But the twitch in his eye betrayed him. Dax holstered the weapon. You don't get symbols anymore. Guards moved in to take the Primarch into custody, but Dax waved them off. He's not a prisoner. He's a relic. He gets to watch what comes next. Within minutes, the council chamber was secured. The delegates who hadn't fled were rounded up and given a single directive: stand down or be left behind. No bargaining. No speeches. Just the end of a dynasty that had ruled for 1,000 years without challenge. Velzor was led to a viewing platform. Outside, ships were still landing. Across the city, banners bearing the council insignia were being lowered and replaced, not with Earth's flag, but with a black field bearing a single, silver line. Unity without dominance. Strength without deception. The Primarch turned to Dax. You wanted this war. Dax didn't deny it. I built it. Velzor's tongue flicked once. Then history will know you as the architect of ruin. Dax met his gaze. History doesn't remember caution. Only results. He walked away, leaving the old ruler staring into a city that no longer bowed to his name. Later that night, as the fires from isolated clashes cooled, Dax sat alone in his quarters, watching the real-time feed from orbit. Sealer Prime shimmered below, wounded but intact. Kor spoke without prompting. The council has officially collapsed. No remaining systems willing to answer its summons. And Earth? Kor paused. Feared. Respected. Watched. Dax leaned back, eyelids heavy. Then we've done our job. No, Commander, Kor replied. You've changed the galaxy. And the galaxy is watching for what comes next. Dax didn't respond. He knew what came next. And he was already planning it. The storm had passed, but the air never cleared. Sealer Prime lay quiet, smoke curled from distant spires, not from active conflict, but from the cooling of power grids forcibly disabled. The council was gone. Delegates had either vanished into exile, pledged loyalty to Earth, or had been detained for crimes recorded and streamed for every system to see. Some begged. Most didn't speak at all. In the heart of the capital, Dax stood in what had once been Velzor's private observatory. The ceiling was glass, reinforced, angled toward the stars that once symbolized the council's reach. Now those same stars blinked over New Order, ships bearing Terran codes, not flags. Flags could be burned. Codes could not be denied. Colonel Issa approached quietly behind him. All sectors report secure. No more resistance. No calls for help. Because they're waiting to see if this was conquest or correction, Dax said. Her silence carried weight. Then she offered a datapad. Transmission intercepted from the edge of soul space. He took it. A slow breath escaped his nose. The display showed 3 warships, massive, old, council design, never registered in active fleet manifests. Their propulsion signatures matched pre-charter blueprints. Hidden vessels, long forgotten or reserved for annihilation scenarios. Backup. Failsafe. They're headed to Earth? Dax asked. Issa nodded. They dropped out of FTL beyond Pluto. No response to hails. He handed the pad back without a word and walked toward the chamber's exit. She followed. Inside the main command room, Earth's delegation waited. Admirals, governors, AI liaison officers. Some had cheered the victory. Others wore the look of survivors wondering if they'd crossed too far. Dax didn't care about their expressions. He stepped to the center table. Our war isn't over. Murmurs stirred. He raised one hand. A council remnant fleet has entered Sol's outer perimeter. Likely autonomous. Likely desperate. But they think Earth's vulnerable now. We've pulled assets back, Admiral Riker said. Half the fleet is still stabilizing sectors. Dax nodded. Then we show them we never needed a fleet. He turned to Kor. Activate Theta Solaris. Silence. Riker spoke first. That was never meant for deployment. It's a theoretical deterrent. Dax stared him down. So is Protocol Theta 9. We're well past theory. Far beneath Earth's surface, deep in a forgotten vault beneath the Andes, a weapon woke up. Not a missile. Not a bomb. A frequency. The Dyson oscillator array, buried for decades, rotated into position, aiming its pulse through the gravitational lens of the sun itself. No explosion. No sound. Just a flicker of light. And silence. In orbit, the Council warships vanished. No wreckage. No transmissions. One moment, they were approaching. The next, they simply weren't. Back on Sealer Prime, news spread fast. The humans had used their star as a trigger. The message was clearer than any broadcast. The war wasn't just over, it had been decided in advance. Hours later, Dax sat alone in his quarters. The observatory's dome opened to the night sky. No lights. No interruption. Just the raw sprawl of a galaxy that had always treated Earth as an outlier. Now Earth was the axis. Kor's voice returned. Outer systems are stabilizing. Mactan and Ilari factions have proposed a new alliance framework. Under Terran leadership. And the rest? Dax asked. Watching. He closed his eyes. Not in peace, but calculation. Draft the charter, he said. Not an empire. Not a council. Something leaner. No thrones. No pomp. Kor processed. Name? Dax didn't hesitate. The Accord. He stood and recorded a message. It would be played across every system by morning. I am Commander Dax Morrow. This war began with a lie, and ended with a truth no one wanted to face. Peace is only maintained when power has purpose. He paused. Not for drama. For weight. Earth is not here to conquer. We're here to correct. You will never be ruled by us. But if you threaten us, if you threaten those under our protection, we will respond. Not with warning. Not with debate. With action. His eyes locked with the lens. You sanctioned us. Now the stars answer to us. He ended the recording. Outside, Sealer's towers glimmered under the light of a star they no longer feared.